everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori, and I wanted to remind you that the sun is shining even if you don't see it. You're like, okay. Well, this is important because I'm going to use that in general for everything else I'm getting ready to talk to you about today. And again, sorry, my little microphone's broken, but hopefully one will be in so it won't be so echoey. I tried to fix it, but it is kind of what it is. Can't do anything about it because it's retrograde, things break. But I didn't want to leave you hanging. So what I mean by that is, even though you can't see the progress, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Even though you can't see the opportunity, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So really think about that, right? So I want to go back to what I just said in the beginning, was that the sun shines even if you don't see it, right? So let's say you get up, and I mean, it is thunderstorming. I mean, it is pouring rain. And it is like there isn't an ounce of sun to be seen from your vision. But above those clouds, sun is shining bright. Sun is bright, and it is shining so hard, but you can't see it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, logically, you know that piece of it. You're like, okay, I know that if it's raining or if it's cloudy, I know that their sun is out there. So I want you to take that same analogy, and I want you to incorporate that into your life. Because when you allow yourself to incorporate it into your life, then you're not so stressed when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Doesn't mean that the light isn't there. You know, think about this. And Maya Angelou said this the best, you know, every storm runs out of rain. Every storm. It could be the worst hurricane on the planet ever in the history of planets. It's going to run out of rain. So yes, why do we have to go through the trials and tribulations and things that are stressful and stormy? And there's seasons, right? You have seasons of your life, you have days, you have times. Yes, those things are going to happen. And honestly, it's a part of our life. Sure, it'd be great if we didn't have to deal with all of that, but how would we have resilience? Imagine, literally imagine, if you never had trauma in your life, you never had any issues, right? In your mind, you go, oh my God, that'd be great. Do you know how isolating that would be for you? You would be so tone deaf to everybody in the world. You would have no experience on other people, like what other people are going through. I mean, you could try to be empathetic, but how could you? You could be like, oh, that sucks. So why can't you just be happy like me? So imagine, you have to be careful what you ask for. So if you were completely at peace without first having something to compare it to, you would feel isolated because nobody would want to hang out with you, because they would feel like, even if you weren't judging them, they would feel like, well, I can't be around this person. Like, they don't have no idea what I've gone through. So you got to stop trying to resist your past. Stop running from you. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. No matter where you go, there you are. Run all you want. Run as far away from yourself as you can. You cannot run yourself. It will never happen. So if you go, yeah, but it's so painful. Again, the sun is shining somewhere, even if you can't see it. Options are there, but how are you going to view it? Are you going to say, oh, this sucks. Life is so hard right now. Woe is me. I mean, you're allowed your feelings. You have to process your feelings of sadness. And I mean, we are human beings. We're not a Roomba vacuum cleaner. So you're going to have those days. You're going to have those low points. You're going to cry. You're going to feel sometimes overwhelmed. You're going to feel like you just can't go on. That's all part of it. But just remember, the sun is shining somewhere, which means there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you choose to know it's there even without seeing it. I think the problem that most people run into is if you can't see it, then it's like it's not tangible. That's, believe it or not, ego too. That really is your ego. Well, if I don't see it, it's not real. I mean, yeah, be alert, keep your head on a swivel. Don't just be naive, but don't be cynical. So again, all or nothing thinking. Be careful of that black and white thinking. Don't be so cynical and then so naive. There is a happy medium, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is where confidence lies. And people are like, what do you mean? How can you be vulnerable and confident? Vulnerability is confidence, because to be vulnerable means that you are open to receive, open for lessons, open to learn, and open to be honest with yourself. Are you kidding me? That is like the definition of confidence. So don't think that by resisting healing and not being able to see the sun shining somewhere, that it's just going to be stormy for the rest of your life. However, if you keep thinking that and you keep feeding life into that and keep living in a victim mentality and keep going, woe is me, and keep blaming everybody and saying, if this wouldn't have happened, I would have been different. You would have been different. Doesn't mean you'd have been better, right? You got to stop with that. Stop going, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Well, you didn't, and we're here now. What did you learn? You have to remember that your experiences, some beautiful, some not so beautiful, do not define you. They are just a part of you. So when you can understand that your insecurities, your things that you are dealing with are yours to process, right? And what I mean by are yours to process, and this is going to get a little nerdy, but your thoughts are literally just neurons. They're just firing your neurons. That's literally all a thought is. And quite honestly, people think feelings originate down here. Feelings originate, the emotional response is based on a trigger, right? So you have an emotional response to a thought, but a thought is just a neuron. Yeah, it could come from the past. It could come from, yeah, you might have a reference there, but you have two choices on how you're going to see it. Are you going to live there, or are you going to know that somewhere the sun is shining? Are you going to know that even though you can't necessarily see the direction as being an amazing one, that if you keep looking at it as negative, that's all you'll ever see, and you'll miss those opportunities? Or if you're trying to rush the process. Okay, yeah, I know that the sun is shining. I just want to get to the sun. I just want to get to the sun. Well, you're not going to learn any lessons, and you're going to make a lot of poor choices. That's what we all do. A lot of poor choices, a lot of quick impulsive decisions. You can't live in impulsivity, right? And trust me, I've had every diagnosis I feel like under the sun throughout my healing process, from BPD to bipolar 1 with mixed episodes, to depression, to anxiety disorder, to ADHD, to OCD, to PTSD. I mean, the list is endless. Now, the beautiful thing is that, you know, while you can't ever heal and cure BPD, you go into remission. I've been in remission for a long while. And, you know, right now I'm just doing good, because good, meaning today, right now I'm doing good. Tomorrow I might wake up and feel sad, but I'm not going to live in that sadness. And that's the biggest thing for you to keep in mind, that when you are living in that sadness, it is going to become a problem for you. So that's why you have to be careful. So when you can't see it, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that it's not in your optical vision. So that's where you have to trust the process. You have to let down your control. You have to let go of your ego. You have to embrace the unknown. So that's where you have to ask yourself, is this what I'm willing to do? Because you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to make the steps. You have to be willing to make that process. So that is a wrap up. So talk to you next week.